Okay, this is the saw stop. Saw, it's a table saw. Okay. The first thing is the front of the saw here, how to turn it on. So if you notice over here, there's a small button and a lockout tab. This is the lockout tab. It's a small little yellow thing. It goes into here, to the red area here. If you happen to lose it, look around on the floor because it probably just fell out. Okay, first thing we need to do is power the machine on. You'll see over here, there's a bunch of lights, and once it's solid green, okay, then it is ready to go. Then you can turn the machine on. You turn the machine on by pulling this switch right here. So the first thing you need to do when you want to cut a piece of wood on a table saw is to adjust the height to the thickness of the wood. So if you look at the saw right now, okay, is much higher than my wood thickness. Okay, we need to lower the blade. On the front of the saw is a wheel, and this wheel here is what raises and lowers the blade. So as I spin it, okay, you see that the wheel is spinning, the blade is lowering. Okay, the blade should be set approximately 1/4 inch above your stock. Okay. Another guideline is if you see the lower cutout sections of the blade, that should be just above my piece of wood. So this looks pretty good. Okay, it's about 1/4 of an inch. My notch is just above the piece of wood, so now I have the correct height. Next thing we do is, or another feature of the saw, is the guard and the splitter. So the splitter is in line with the blade. As you see, it's in the exact same line of the blade. And what that splitter is for is when you have pieces of wood. Okay, so I'm trying to cut these two pieces, or this was one piece, and I'm trying to cut it. And I'm doing a rip cut, so it's along the grain, the same width as the grain. So when I put my blade, when I use my blade, let's assume this is the blade, and it comes in and it cuts through this piece of wood, okay? That wood has some pressure built into it. It was a tree at one time. So it doesn't remember, okay, or it may remember that it used to grow in all different directions. So when I start cutting into it, I'm relieving some of that pressure. And what I've just cut may want to pinch in or want to split out. Okay, so it may want to be pinching in or splitting out as I'm cutting it. Okay, so if it happens to be pinching in, it puts a lot of pressure on the blade that I just cut with. Okay, and when pressure is put on a blade, you're going to get kickback. So what this splitter does, is that when my pieces of wood are getting cut through, that splitter keeps the pieces separated so they don't pinch in onto the blade. Okay, so that's a very important feature. Another feature that we have on this particular machine are these little, what they call anti-kickback pawls. Okay, and what they do is that when I run my piece of wood through here, it lifts up and it's able to go forward through the blade. However, when I try to pull it backwards, these teeth dig into my piece of wood and prevent me from pulling it in the backward direction towards me. So it's only able to go forward. It can't come backward much, okay? It will grab as it goes backwards, okay? So that's what these kickback pawls are. So now I have my blade guard down, and I'm ready to cut my piece of wood, a rip cut, and I have it set up to the proper height. Okay, now I need to adjust my fence to the width that I want to cut. So the fence, as you see on the front here, has a handle, and in order to move the fence, the handle has to be in the up position, released, and I can slide my fence over towards the blade at whatever distance I want. And if you look on the right-hand side of the blade, okay, right here, okay, there's a guide, a little red arrow, and a measuring tape already affixed to the table. So that will tell you the distance you are from the fence to the blade. Okay, so that's one way to check it. Okay, the other way to check it is to measure the distance from the fence to the blade with a tape measure or something else. Okay, so anyway, if I've set it up to the width that I want to set it up, okay, I move it into place. A little tap kind of helps sometimes. Then I need to lock it down. So make sure you always lock down your fence before you do your cut. Okay, so make sure you're always standing to the side of the blade, that you're not in line with the blade, because if any kickback happens, it's going to happen between the blade. So between the blade and the fence. If anything gets caught between the blade and the fence, it will kick back at you. So make sure you're not directly behind it. Okay, you should always be to the side of it. Okay, so that's where I should be standing. Okay, and if you notice the on-off button here, okay, the reason it's so big is because if I need to, I can just hit it with my knee to turn it off. Okay, so I have my blade guard down, I have my piece of stock, I have my guard locked down. Okay, I'm ready to go. So I can turn it on and I make my cut. Now, whenever you're making a cut, and if your hands are within 4 inches of the blade, you need to use a push block. So we have 2 different push blocks here, okay? A handle type, okay, and this L-shaped type. So this one locks onto your edge like this, and you hold it like this and push it. There's a little edge on here. Or this one, okay, this little notch will go on the end of your piece to push it through. So always make sure that your push blocks are right next to you on the other side of your fence, ready to go. Okay? My left hand, the meaty part of my left hand, the palm of it here, should be on the edge of the table, just like you're playing pool. Okay? It should not move from here. I should not slide this hand. This hand should stay. The wood will slide next to it. Okay? I'm putting pressure this way towards the fence. Okay? So I'm sliding it through, making my cut. When my 2 hands meet, then I can grab my push block and continue the cut through. I push it completely through. Now I can shut the saw off. Now, if you notice, the piece I cut is over here, and that's great, but there's another piece that's stuck over here. So you never want to, while the saw is running, try and dig that out. Okay, so best practice is to turn the saw off. But again, those kickback pawls will prevent you from pulling it to the side or pulling it away, so you have to make sure you pull it forward through the saw to get it out. So now I've made my cut. Okay, everything is A-okay. Okay, so that's how you make a rip cut. Okay, so the goal of the picture frame project is to cut this rabbet cut, which is a notch cut on the edge of the board. Okay, this cut is not going completely through, so we're not able to use the splitter. So we need to remove the splitter. So first I'm going to show you guys how to remove the splitter in the guard. So I'm moving my fence out of the way. Okay, and on the table, there's a finger hole right here. So I lift this out of the way. I stick my finger in the finger hole, and I can then lift up the knife plate. Then I need to reach down in to the side, and there's a little dust collection door that you need to knock to the side. Okay, so I'm knocking it out to the side. And then I reach in and I grab the handle and lift the handle up. Then I can pull my splitter and guard attachment and place it out of the way. Now I reverse the process. I put my handle back down. I shut the dust collection door. And then I place my blade plate back in. Okay? So that's how you remove the splitter. Okay, so the object is to do this rabbet cut. So if I want to match what I got here with a solid piece of wood, okay, the first thing I want to do is cut it on the narrow side, okay? So I want to set up my depth of my saw blade to the same depth. So I'll spin the wheel on the front down until the saw blade is at the correct height. Okay, looks like it is. Okay, so I have that set up. And then I'm going to set up with my fence to make sure that I have the proper distance away. So I've set both cuts up. I've locked down my fence. Now I can make the cut. Okay, you always want to turn your machine on and then put your piece on, because you could lose track of your piece and your piece could go into your blade. So make sure you're clear away from the blade before you turn the machine on. Now I turn my machine on and I start pushing it through. Now, I need to keep the pressure on this piece of wood. So my hand is going to be over here next to the blade, which is kind of a dangerous position. So we have another safety tool, which are these grip paddles. Okay, so I can use a grip paddle to keep the pressure on. So my hand's at a safe distance, and I'm going to have my push block ready as well, so I can keep only my hands on push blocks the entire time. And that's how I can safely make this cut without any danger of my hand getting close to the blade. Okay, so now I've made that one notch cut. Now I need to make one other cut. So I'm going to turn the saw off. Again, I'm going to adjust the blade height. Okay, so a good way to adjust the blade height is to move the fence out of the way and put the blade in place. And now I gotta just adjust the blade height so it cuts through. Okay, and then I can eyeball this side and knock it into place. Lock down my fence. So if you ever need to put your fence into place, it's easier to just do little taps to get it into place than to try and move it. Okay, so that's just another little tip. All right, so again, now I'm ready to cut my dado. And I can go ahead and push it through. So I'm just going to use the push block. And there you go. I've completed my cut. I'm waiting for it to stop, and I can safely touch my piece and get it out.